Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll look at several stories of women over 40 who say age is just a number, that 40 is the new 20. These are women who teach you how to manifest a man. Others who say you can still have children even at 45. Your support means a lot to us. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. All right, let's get started.
I was actually 45 when my daughter was born, not 40. I want to address some of the common criticisms that older moms sometimes get. First of all, women having babies in their 40s isn't a new thing. Childbearing years span decades, so why this is shocking to some people is beyond me. I know so many older moms, both now and also when I was growing up. One of the most common criticisms that I see online is that it's not fair to have children in your 40s because those children won't have as much time with you as they would if you had them when you were younger. The truth is, nobody knows how much time they have, but let's say for the sake of the argument that we all get the same number of years and we all expire on the same exact day. Does that mean that we owe it to the next generation to give birth to them as young as possible? Not everyone is ready or willing to have a baby in their teens or 20s. Even if you do feel ready, sometimes finding the right partner can take some time, and some people like to become financially stable or reach other goals first. It's also really common for people to experience infertility, or in my case, secondary infertility. I planned on having our last child in my 30s, but when I was in my 30s, I had miscarriages. The most carefully made plans can be completely out of our control, and it's mind-boggling to me that anyone could think a child has more or less right to exist based on the age of her mother. Another common concern is the increased risk of chromosomal abnormalities with advancing maternal age. The numbers vary a little bit according to the source, but a recent one that I read said that at age 30, a pregnant woman has a 0.1% chance of a baby with Down syndrome, and then by age 40, it increases to 1%. By the time I conceived my daughter at age 44, I had about a 2.5% chance of having a baby with Down syndrome. Conversely, I had a greater than 97% chance of having a baby with typical chromosomes who was perfectly healthy. More than half of people with Down syndrome were born to young moms, under 35. Lastly, the idea that older moms have less energy. I've had babies both in my 20s and in my 40s, and this hasn't been true for me. And I really believe that while there are genetic factors that are out of our control, our overall fitness and lifestyle choices have more to do with our mental and physical health than our age does. Those are my thoughts, but I'm happy to continue the conversation in the comments.
I disagree with some of the things you're saying. It's well known that a woman who reaches the wall has lower chances of having children, especially if it's her first child. We're not saying it's impossible, just that the chances are low. Here are some statistics. At age 40, the probability of having a baby with Down syndrome is approximately 1%, 1 in 100, increasing to 1 in 30 by age 45. Without medical assistance, women's fertility begins to significantly decline after age 35. By 40, the monthly probability of conceiving naturally is about 5% to 10%, meaning 1 in 10 women over 40 could achieve a natural pregnancy. With fertility treatments, the odds increase to 10% to 15% per cycle, so 1 in 4 to 5 women might achieve pregnancy. The likelihood of children being born with health complications due to maternal age is estimated to be 5% to 10% in women aged 40 or older, according to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Although these percentages may seem small, remember there are over 250 million women in this country, so those percentages represent many women. Therefore, yes, it remains a risk that not every man is willing to take.
It doesn't matter how old you get. It never hurts less. So, we'll update. I've been talking to the guy since early May, over 2 months, and we had a few dates, and I thought it went really well. We have everything in common. He texts me all day, every day. Same shared values, same life goals, same interests, really good banter. And he told me that I was smart and funny, and he told me that I was beautiful, which is the first time it's ever happened in my whole life. And we went on a few dates, and then we were talking, and he just said he's really concerned that of my lack of
physical activity. And I guess he's been trying to convince himself to find me attractive because I had such a good personality. And I told him that I didn't think that he should have to convince himself to find me attractive, and that I'm happy with my body and it's okay if other people aren't. And it's really hard. I know it's the right thing, and I do believe that it just is never easier when you're dating and you're plus sized. It never really gets easier. And I'm sharing this because I, of course, turned to my girlfriends, but I forgot for a minute that they're all very beautiful and thin, and they've never had guys on the internet or just in life to their face tell them that they were ugly before. And so I know that there's a lot of other people like me on TikTok because I've seen a lot of you, and it's okay if it hurts. And you're not alone. And I really hope that one day we can get beyond fat phobia, and maybe I'll meet someone.
I hope that one day we can overcome fat phobia, but from which side should we approach this topic? If you go out on the street and ask 100 people what they think about an overweight guy of the same weight as her, you'll hear all kinds of insults about that man. But if you show a picture of a woman with the same weight, people are mostly compassionate. The majority, especially women, will say she's beautiful, while they find the man creepy. He told her he was concerned about her weight. He didn't insult her. Men are often stood up, ignored, or even humiliated. Of course, that's not her fault, but I can assure you that her chances of finding a relationship are higher than those of a man in the same situation. In the continuation of this video, she already says she found a man. If it were a man in her circumstances, he'd probably be thinking he'll die alone. I'm not making excuses for men. Everyone should work on their body, because even if you're not happy with it, it's your temple and the only one you've got. Always strive, brothers, to be the best version of yourselves.
If you have that spiritual, emotional, and mental connection with somebody, what makes us human is to want to take it further and make it physical. At least that's how it is for me. I have lots of acquaintances, but I can count on one hand on how many friends I have, and they're all men. If I have a partner and she says, I'm going out to lunch with Rick, my coworker, no, you're not. Because that means she's either naive, willfully ignorant, or not telling me the truth. And it's my job to protect that relationship from that, because you're not allowed to have that sort of connection with somebody with the opposite sex unless it's me. Because again, to have that and to say, I don't want to make it physical is to deny being a human. It's what we are. It's what we do. That's why all my friends are men. I want a woman who, if I told her, hey, look, I'm going out to lunch with Becky from work, she's going to say, no, you're not. Like, this used to be common sense in relationships, but it's not anymore, as evidenced by this comment right here. And we can get so self-righteous to think, oh, I would never cheat. I'm above that. I'm so moral, such a good person. I would never cave into that temptation. You know, to thine own self be true. I'm a human being, and I know what human beings are capable of. Therefore, I don't put myself in that situation. It's wisdom.
Absolutely. You never put yourself in a position to fail. Many women think that the men around them who say they're just friends don't have other intentions. But if she were to call him up and reveal her interest, I bet those men would confess their own. Brothers, there's always that tension between a man and a woman. I'm not saying a woman can never have contact with a man, because that's unrealistic, but it's one thing to have a friendship where everyone's with their partner, and we go out as a group. Meeting a man one-on-one is different, though, because no woman would be okay with her man meeting a female friend alone. So, it's not about cheating, but a woman who respects herself and her partner wouldn't do this to her man.
Okay, so these are things that I'm too old for as a woman in my 40s. Let's go. I am too old to have friends who I'm not 100% sure of. I used to keep friends around me because I knew them for a long time. We had history together. But a lot of times these friends, when I would tell them my good news, their mood would immediately change. They would get like angry at me. I realized after a while they were not my real friends. I am way too old to keep people around me who I do not 100% trust. I am way too old to be at a club. At 10 p.m., I am in bed. I've already applied my nightly skincare. I've taken my nightly supplements. I got my lavender diffuser on. I am not going to a club. Day brunches, dinners only. I am not throwing hands with you. I am way too old for that. I did that in my teens. But what I will do is I will sue you. I will take you to court and we will litigate. I will sue you, but I will not throw hands with you. I am too old to not love my own company. I take myself out to dinner. I take myself out to the spa. I love doing things by myself. And once I started really, truly loving doing things alone and being truly at peace with doing things by myself, I found that I never welcomed or allowed any toxic relationships in my life. And last, I am too old to fight for a man. I'm in a relationship now, but if I find out my man has somebody else, you could have him. I am not fighting for him. Adios.
And then they wonder why men don't want to date women in their 40s. They've lost the spark of being fun, which is why you see men their age looking for women 10 to 15 years younger. That spark, that energy, it's something these women have lost along the way. There's no passion, no excitement, things men look for in a partner. These women have moved past that stage and are now only focused on themselves. They're not women who will adapt to their partner. Instead, they'll want you to adapt to what they want. For that, I'd rather be alone, brothers.
So I'm over 40. In fact, I'm 50, and I met my current husband in my early 40s. We've been married 3 years. We dated for 5. He is a high value man and treats me like a queen. I want for nothing. Not saying this to show off. I've gotten a lot of questions and feedback about finding a partner once you hit the age of 40 and you're older. I have friends in their 60s who have met partners. I have friends in 40s and 50s. Just because you hit a certain age doesn't mean you can't meet a partner. You're going to attract what you believe you're worthy of, or you're going to attract and align with what you believe about yourself. So if you're telling yourself there's no men out there over 40, or no one wants to date someone over 40 or 50, that's what you're going to experience. I've never believed that about myself, ever. Not in my 20s, not in my 30s, not in my 40s, certainly not in my 50s. You have to see yourself as the prize, as someone who is attractive, who is magnetic. You have to pour into yourself and give yourself that love and see yourself as the woman, as the beautiful, attractive, confident, magnetic woman who attracts a partner at her level, whatever that version of you is. But you also have to become that ideal version of you. See yourself and believe you are that attractive, beautiful, magnetic woman that men find irresistible. You take care of yourself, you nurture yourself. Because when you know you're a high value woman, which I believe that I am, and I know that I am, I have high standards for myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, in every capacity. So it's not just about looks. Of course, looks matter. Men are visual. But it's also about what you believe about yourself and how you treat yourself. And because I first and foremost love myself at an energetic level, my standards are high. I take care of my physical health. I take care of my emotional health. I take care of myself professionally, career-wise. It's all a holistic approach, and I attracted a partner at that level. So do I believe if you're over 40 or 50 or 60, you can attract a partner at your level? 100%. I'm in Vegas right now with some friends. We're both 60 and 62, and she met her dream partner. We were talking about this last night. She manifested a man, 62 and she's 60, and they both look great, but at her level. And he treats her like a queen. So you're never too old for anything. If you believe you're too old, you're going to be too old. You're young, and you get to redefine your age, and you get to redefine how you feel. Don't let society or culture or other people, don't let them project their negative beliefs onto you.
If a man remarries after 50, it seems he never learned his lesson. This whole thing about manifesting people is one of the silliest things you can hear. I've seen many women in the comments saying they're manifesting a husband, and others saying it's too late for them. The strange part is that she's telling you to manifest your man. Of course, with the catch that you need her mentorship or the pricey program she's selling, because apparently praying at home doesn't work. What works, supposedly, is buying her expensive course where she'll tell you how to sit on the floor and ask for it. And then, somehow, a man of 50 or 60 will show up, madly in love with you and ready to marry. Honestly, you wonder who could believe this nonsense.
Biggest regret post-divorce. If I could go back knowing what I know now, I would never have downloaded a dating app or ever gotten on one. People will get on dating apps and spend massive amounts of time chatting, talking, and texting, basically just to do a job interview, only to find out you don't have chemistry and you wasted hours, months, and weeks getting to know someone. People don't really know how to set the correct boundaries on that, and that's a whole nother lesson. There's also not accountability because they are not in your friend group, your church group, any kind of social group, so you can't even have that filter of knowing anything about their background, and they'll quickly ghost you.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll see several women who have hit the wall. We'll look at a woman who claims that winning an award is better than choosing to be a mother, and we'll also review some relationship cases that show a man's love. Most notably, we'll see a woman, 38 years on the wall, rejected by her matchmaker for lacking feminine energy to receive a man's love. Your support is incredibly important to us. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming to reach 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what makes this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos. Alright, let's get started.
No, because memes like this just seem intentionally cruel. So it's two women. One is holding some type of award, and the caption is, "I won." And then another woman is obviously holding a child, saying, "No, you didn't." And obviously the woman with the award looks like pretty pensive, pretty unhappy. And of course, the mother just looked like the most happy, version of herself. There is no reason this needed to be a competition picture. It would have been such a more impactful and better message had both little thought bubbles or speech bubbles just said, "I won." The message being both women are winning in their respective lives because they're doing what they want to be doing. They're spending their time how they want to spend their time. They're accomplishing the things that they actually want to accomplish. Why is the woman who obviously has had a great accomplishment looking like she's so disappointed in herself? With the obvious message being, if you are a woman but not a mother, you will never actually be happy. You will never actually feel like you won. Also, once again, pictures like this don't just hurt child-free by choice people. It can also be very hurtful to people who did want a family and couldn't have one.
For something as simple as one trophy gathering dust on a shelf, the other will generate an entire lineage and family that could also win multiple awards and leave a mark on the world. It's that simple. The reason this message bothers you is because you're in the same situation as the first woman, but worse because you don't even have an award. Secondly, I've seen more women regret never having children than those who did. I've seen more women regret being alone on the wall than those married with kids. It's to the point that women who gave their children up for adoption or abandoned them eventually feel the pain of that loss catch up with them. You can never compare the value of a trophy to the value of a family. That's why that meme, as you say, is cruel, because it reveals a reality that many women identify with, even those who claim they don't want kids. When they find a partner, even at 35 or older, if there's even a small chance, they want to try. Why is that? Because a trophy won't fill the space a family could. If you don't believe it, just ask the woman in the next video.
It's not about being lonely, so I just want somebody. No, I want to be in love. I want to share my life with someone. I want to feel the joys. I want to have my hands held. I want to be held. I want to kiss. I want to support. I want to make coffee with that person. I want my person. I want my person. Why is it so hard to find your person? I'm so tired. It's really hard when love is the one thing you can't force, you can't make happen. It has to just show up, but where is it?
I honestly feel for this woman because I've been hearing a lot of different opinions about her situation, but wanting it and doing the work for it are two different things. And I truly believe that it gets harder to want to do the work as you get older. And then mix that with the fact that men are expected to put in most of the effort, at least early on in dating. Well, a lot of single men that would be in her age bracket that are happy, established, and mentally and physically healthy, they are hard to find because they're kind of just chilling at home or at work. So if you're a woman in your 20s or 30s, let this be a lesson that you need to lock in that good man and treat him right.
Exactly. He just missed saying that the wall doesn't forgive. Do you really think that giving that woman an award will make her happy? Of course not. She wants a man, a family. See what I was saying? There's no comparison. I like how the message ends, encouraging women in their 20s and 30s to take care of their men. Nowadays, it's common to see women criticizing men just for being men, but deep down, they want a man at home. It's like a spoiled child saying they don't want something when they actually do. Human connection is essential, whether you're a man or a woman. For women who let their prime years pass by, it's much harder because they come from a time where they expected men to put in all the effort. But those times are gone. Today, you also have to put in the effort. So, take care of that husband you have.
Involving with the female state. That is one of the only keys to a man's heart. When's the last time you looked to me up?
If I loved cooking and it was met with like, hey, I love that you love cooking, like this means a lot to me. Thanks, but you know you don't have to do this all the time. Like I can pitch, you know, whenever it was met with that, I think that would love cooking.
I don't disagree that the effort you put into your relationship should be met with some kind of overture of appreciation and reciprocity. But it seems like what she's saying here is that she doesn't want to do things for her husband unless they're things that she already enjoys doing. But let's hear Katie's response.
If you want to find out whether a man truly loves you or not, what you have to do is ask him why he loves you. If the only things he can come up with are reason which you serve him, that man does not truly love you. Sure, he might like the way you make him feel, the things you do for him, and the convenience of having you around, but he does not love you as a person.
Now, if you do this and you learn that you're only loved for your utility, now you know what it's like to be a man. We've reached a point where women are being treated the same way that they treat men in relationships, and it doesn't feel very good to them and they don't like it.
I've talked about red flags to look for in a potentially abusive partner before, and this is a red flag. Now, am I saying every man who only loves you for what you do for him and not for who you are as a person is going to be abusive? No. But I can guarantee you will not be treated the way you deserve to be treated in that relationship.
Now, this is where the double standard really starts to rear its ugly head, because for years and years and years, men have been taught how to treat women but not what to expect from them, and women have been taught what to expect from men but not how to treat them. And now we're taking it a step further and saying that if men have expectations of their women, not only do they not love them, but they're also abusive, or at the very least, will not treat them right in the relationship. It would take some women literally days to list all of the expectations they have for their men. But as soon as their men say, hey, it'd be nice if you cooked for me every now and then, suddenly he's a narcissistic, abusive, misogynist piece of shit. You'll remember this video that I stitched a couple of days ago?
Complaining that your girlfriend wants you to do anything for her. Just try.
Yeah, that sounds great, but that's a two-way street. Just like women expect their men to do nice things for them without them having to ask for it, it's not unreasonable and it certainly isn't abusive for men to expect the same in return.
A woman should learn how a man loves. Men are taught all our lives that if we aren't useful, we're worth nothing, because we all know that only children, animals, and women are loved unconditionally. Men are valued for what they can provide. This woman says, ask your man why he loves you. Maybe he'll give you an answer based on why you do things for him. But also ask him why he thinks you love him as a partner, and you'll see his answer will likely reflect how he believes he is useful to you, what he does for you. Men don't think in any other way because we've been taught to be of use. This contrasts with women who love more emotionally, based on how they feel. A man can love emotionally, but his response will always be grounded in reason and action. That's why you often won't hear men express emotional things. But if you're sick, in trouble, or lacking something, his actions will often be emotional, like caring for you, solving problems, helping you. These are emotional actions, but with the intention of being of some help, because men only think of how to be useful in some way to women. But she'll say a man doesn't love, because he responds in this way, claiming he's abusive, only to disguise the fact that she doesn't do anything for her.
I don't mean to bring negative energy to such a sweet video because I think it is. I think it demonstrates the amount of respect and support that partners should have for each other. But everyone should remember that it goes both ways. All too many times I've heard from men that this is not the sort of reaction that they get. It's when men go through difficult times like loss of a job or mental health or some sort of addiction. That is when they find out that they did not have a ride or die. Their lady, the minute that they see them as too weak, that is when she leaves. And in general, I think that most men, they think that the woman that they're with would probably leave them if something really big like this happened. And that has to be tough for them.
Harsh is an understatement. It's terrible. Many women say men don't show their emotional side, that men aren't emotional. The men who have shown emotion have often been mistreated, abandoned, or labeled as less of a man. Here's an example. A man's wife loses her job, and instead of arguing, he just gives her love and understanding. Like any masculine man, he says, "I'll take care of things, love. We'll get through this somehow." He understands he now has a heavier load, but doesn't pressure her because of it. Like any masculine man, he pushes forward. If the situation were reversed, if he lost his job due to something as simple as layoffs, it's quite likely she'd argue, blame him, and might not even last a month before leaving him. This happens often. I don't want to generalize. Not all women would react this way. The ones who truly love you stay. But because we know men are only loved for what they provide, many choose to leave him in his worst moments. And it doesn't always go to extremes. Sometimes, it's as small as opening up about something personal in a moment of weakness. You know what happens next? The first argument you have, she'll use that information as a weapon, stabbing you with it, hurting you with it.
I was rejected by a matchmaker this week who wouldn't be able to work with me. Essentially, I spent $350 to meet with this woman, have her tell me I am not worthy of love as I am, but the fact that I need to change in order to be worthy of love and partnership. Which honestly, I think for that reason alone, she should have her matchmaking license taken away because we shouldn't be pushing on these narratives of people are not worthy as they are.
I find it hard to believe that her matchmaker actually told her that she's not worthy of love, because being worthy of love and being ready for a relationship are two different things, and it was probably the latter about which the matchmaker was trying to make a point.
That I'm not ready for her type of services because I have too much work to do. My walls are too high and I'm not ready for a long-term committed relationship at the right age of 38 where I've been in therapy for 10 plus years. She also said that she's too woo for me, which I can accept that. That's fine. However, I shouldn't need to be a woo type person to be worthy of love. She also said that I need to soften a little bit. And men like a softer woman.
It sounds to me like the matchmaker was trying to explain to her that there is the type of woman that men generally want to date and marry, and then there's the type of woman that she is, and those two things are not the same. Now, instead of taking advantage of what could have been a teaching moment for her, she strawmans the matchmaker's criticism in order to justify denying accountability for the position that she finds herself in, and in order to avoid doing any type of introspection so that she can identify areas in which she needs to improve in order to be the type of woman a man will commit to. This is one of the most frustrating things for men with regard to dating, is that when women like this are compelled to self-reflect, they see it as a personal affront to their very existence and will label it as narcissistic abuse, all the while demanding that men change their preferences and even their biological inclinations regarding the women with whom they want to mate. Ladies, it's a whole lot easier to make a few adjustments in your own lives than to try and change an entire demographic.
A wise saying goes that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. This woman is 38 years old, has hit the wall, and seems to be someone who goes to therapy to hear what she wants. She even went to a matchmaker who told her directly, "You don't have wife energy. You need to become more feminine." She didn't like that. The matchmaker probably thought, this is a lost cause, and decided to stop working with her, leaving her to keep crashing into the wall, because the wall doesn't forgive. Here is the definition of insanity. She's 38, has spent years trying to get a man and get married, but it hasn't worked the way she's doing things now, and therapy hasn't helped either. Why not make a change and accept the advice to adjust her personality a bit? Be softer for her man, connect with her feminine energy. But she thinks, and many women think this way too, that the man should do everything for her, while she just receives without giving anything back or doing anything for him. This is why it ends like this, alone, with a cat, hitting the wall, watching time slip by without budging. She never thinks, even for a moment, that if she did acts of service for her man, he would likely reciprocate with the same or more because men are easy to make happy. It's simple. If you want to be treated like a queen, you first have to earn the respect of the king and show that you're worthy of his crown. Drizzle, drizzle.
Are you not going to pay for my bill?
No, I'm not going to pay your bill.
Really? You're not going to pay? Like, what happened to all the good men out there? The gentlemen with A's for the bill. You really not going to pay? Like, not even half?
No, I'm not paying anything, not even half the bill.
Really? You should be ashamed of yourself. I cannot believe this right now. Why can't you just pay half? I don't understand.
I don't even know you. Who are you?
Why you gotta be so cheap? Like, just pay for it.
I don't even know you. What? I've never met. I don't know you.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll see how a woman was left stranded in Miami during a romantic trip when the guy realized she was going with a friend. We'll also watch as a modern woman explains in a video that women should plan out arguments, plus another woman who complains that men don't pick up on signals. Your support means the world to us. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. Now, let's get started.
I put makeup on just for this date, so it better go well. And I'm not posting this probably if it doesn't. It did not go well. Truthfully, it lasted less than 2 minutes. I walked up, he gave me a hug and said, "Are you hungry? Let's go inside." We went inside. He said, "Actually, can you step outside for a minute?" I stepped back outside. And he said, "I'm not trying to offend you, but I'm just not feeling it." So I walked to my car, and came back home. Dating when you're fat sucks.
This is truly horrible. I will always stand up for men, but not for abuse. I say this because, from what it seems, she wasn't deceiving anyone on her profile. She showed that she was plus-sized, and she wasn't hiding it. She even told the guy about it, and he was okay with it. To me, it seems like he invited her only to humiliate her. If you're a man with a shred of conscience, you know that's not right. A man with values wouldn't act like that. I understand that it's often tougher for men who are overweight or less attractive, but inviting someone just to do something like this? That has to come from someone with a very dark heart. Maybe he wasn't attracted to her because she's plus-sized, but there's a saying, truth without empathy is cruelty.
Guys, this guy flew me to Miami for our second date for a vacation thing, and I'm pretty sure he ghosted me while we were here. He left. I have no idea why, and I know this sounds naive. I really don't think it was anything I did, but TBD, because I don't know why he left or when he left or he drove, but whatever. We're gonna call him Michael for the purpose of this story. So yesterday, Michael was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get lunch with my sister really quickly. I haven't seen her in 2 years. I'll be back at noon." I was like, "Okay, cool. Just don't forget we have these hard to get lunch reservations at 1:30. He's like, "Yeah, I'll be back before that." So I went to the pool, minding my business, soaking up the sun. At 1:10, I was like, "Hey, where are you? Don't forget about lunch." No answer. And then at 1:20, I said, "Where are you? Are you picking me up for lunch?" Because he has his car here. He drove a couple of hours away from Tampa. And I was like, "Hey, where are you?" Then I started getting really frustrated, and I texted him something like, "Yo, this is just so disrespectful to me and my time, and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Hey, sorry to be non-responsive. I just found out some devastating news, blah, 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 blah." Okay, I'm a very caring person. I don't think that's the word. But I'm a very trusting person, so I was like, "Oh yeah, something happened." Which to this time, I feel like something still happens. My friend don't think that something happened. They're like, "Oh, he definitely has a secret life." It was like, "Get your ass home." But it gets worse. I pushed the reservation back to 2. He misses that reservation too. And this is before he told me he had this quote devastating incident. And so housekeeping, and I promise this is important, housekeeping ends up coming. And I was like, "Okay, this is at 3:30, I think." I was like, "You can come on in." And after they made the bed, I took a nap. And so obviously they cleaned the shower too, which is important. And as I'm getting ready to go hang out with some of my other friends, I was like, "Fuck this." And I think this is still before I knew what happened. Actually, I think I knew that there's this quote devastating event. And so then I look around and I look in the corner and I realize his stuff's not there. I was like, did he come get his stuff while I was taking a nap? That is so disrespectful. And there is the possibility that he possibly got it while I was at the pool and he was supposed to be home by noon and all of that. That could have possibly been when he got it, but I don't know because we're both very clean when we travel. So our stuff is like very compacted, almost looks like somebody's bedroom. But if he did get it while I was napping, that's disrespectful. And I noticed this morning when I was showering that there was a washcloth that was wet in there. I was like, did he get his stuff and then shower? Because housekeeping would have cleaned it up yesterday if he had showered before they came. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that would be so disrespectful. My friend's like, were you sleeping through all of this? I was like, yeah, I'm a tank. So not quite sure what's happening right now. I'll keep you guys updated. I'm going to go run up some room service. Anyway, here's the first of many pina coladas on his tab. Thank you.
Let me tell you why. If a guy invites you on a romantic vacation to Miami and you accept, why on earth would you bring your friends along? Any man in that situation would feel he's just being used as a walking wallet because it was supposed to be a romantic trip, only their second date at that. It's also a red flag to go on a trip with someone you barely know on a second date. If she had really gone there to be with him, she wouldn't need to bring anyone else. When the guy probably realized the kind of bill he'd be facing, of course he was going to walk away. It's not that he had someone else. He just wasn't going to be her simp.
Guys, this guy flew me to Miami for our like second date for like a vacation thing, and I'm pretty sure he ghosted me while we were here. Like, he left. So the worst part about getting ghosted is we were supposed to go to Carbone the night he left, and I've never been and I was really excited. But tonight I'm back in Miami and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get left. And guess where I'm going? Carbone! I was super excited because I hear my New York friends talk about it all the time. We walked in and it was a super inviting atmosphere. However, we chose to sit outside because the weather was perfect. I started off with a cappuccino because I'm a millennial and we always complain about needing coffee. And then they had this bread with tomatoes on it and it was so good. And even though I'm allergic, I ate it because it was amazing. First, we got the lobster ravioli, which was in a light white wine sauce with sweet pieces of lobster. Then we got their famous spicy rigatoni with a vodka sauce that's supposed to be cooked al dente, but I didn't find it to be very al dente. I also didn't find it to be very spicy, but it was good. My friend wanted to recreate it at home. They have a couple off-menu desserts, and I got carrot cake because I go crazy for carrot cake. My friend does not like carrot cake, but I convinced her to try it, so we're going to see what she likes, and she hates it. Ugh. I always like to play this game of guess how much the bill is. It ended up being $200 for 2 people with a 20% surcharge.
See what I mean? This woman always says she wouldn't be with a man who doesn't offer her the same lifestyle she provides for herself as a single woman. But I'm sure if that guy had stayed, he would have ended up footing the bill just because he's the man, and likely at a higher cost, too, because when a guy invites, that's when they suddenly want expensive wines. The man saw it wasn't worth the risk and left. Brothers, don't let yourselves be used as ATMs. If she's bringing a friend, she's not interested. She just wants you to cover the costs.
I don't mean to bring negative energy to such a sweet video because I think it is. I think it demonstrates the amount of respect and support that partners should have for each other. But everyone should remember that it goes both ways. All too many times I've heard from men that this is not the sort of reaction that they get. It's when men go through difficult times like loss of a job or mental health or some sort of addiction. That is when they find out that they did not have a ride or die. Their lady, the minute that they see them as too weak, that is when she leaves. And in general, I think that most men, they think that the woman that they're with would probably leave them if something really big like this happened. And that has to be tough for them.
Most men wouldn't understand someone as confusing as this woman. First off, a man picks up on a woman's signals only when she's already his partner, because by then, he's adapted to her and knows what she likes. But if I don't know you, how on earth am I supposed to know what you want? I can't read minds. Instead of dropping hints, why not just communicate clearly? I bet that 3 out of 5 times, things would go better for you. But no, she'd rather blame us because she's afraid to approach a guy. Women fear rejection but expect us to make the first move so they can turn us down. How convenient.
If a man expects you to make plans, I think you should plan an argument. Invite him to your argument and ruin his day too.
Your idea of communicating effectively is to act like a literal adult child by throwing a tantrum and starting an argument for no reason. Based off female logic, if men start arguments for no reason, then that means automatically that they're cheating. So does that same logic apply here? But let me guess, it's different. And all day long in this app, y'all love to come on here and preach all this stuff about husband material and, oh, he's not husband material. But if you can't plan a date, how does he expect you to be wife material? How does he expect you to have longevity with him and plan a future if you can't take initiative? Based off woman logic, wouldn't that make you a low value woman? A woman that puts in no effort is the bare minimum. And yet women love to convince themselves that they're more emotionally intelligent and they know how to communicate better. And if that's the case, then why are so many women agreeing with the fact that they want to have a literal tantrum when they don't get their way in a relationship? Make it make sense. Just imagine that you're dating this woman for 5 to 10 years, and every time that she doesn't get her way, she's going to start an argument with you, and she doesn't think she's part of the problem. The amount of women in the comments saying that this is a good idea, you guys think that you're the better communicators, but your idea of communicating is to start fights for no reason. Also, you don't think it's toxic or narcissistic or sociopathic that in order to communicate your needs, you want to manipulate a man by using your feelings and your emotions to get a certain outcome? By also woman's logic, wouldn't that make you a narcissist? Or let me guess, is it different? Now, honestly, men should appreciate this kind of content because it's so much easier to weed out the bad apples when they pretty much out themselves for the toxicity that they require in a relationship to be healthy. Okay, bye.
Absolutely. If a woman starts playing games and creating conflicts where there are none, for the sake of your own peace, it's best to let her go. A woman who doesn't know how to bring peace to her man is not wife material. This is where men often go wrong. If she argues, he backs down, and she ends up manipulating him. These women tend to act like little girls, and then men start reacting emotionally, arguing back. In these situations, you need to be the adult and not fall into the game. You'll never beat her at her own game, where she has the upper hand from experience. Instead, respond calmly and stop the argument. Start to walk away. She'll start reflecting on her actions, call you, and want to talk. That's when you can firmly make it clear that you won't accept that kind of behavior. As a masculine man, never get drawn into those games. Set clear boundaries and don't tolerate disrespect. I guarantee she won't try to start silly arguments with you again.
Oh, I see. I'm the problem.
I've done 2 grades for us, my dear.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll be discussing a very interesting story about a woman sharing her experience with her narcissistic mother-in-law. We'll see how the mother-in-law destroyed that relationship, everything she did, and how even mothers can be gold diggers who ruin a man's relationship because women don't have friends, they have competition. Your support is incredibly important to us. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 150,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Share your experiences and advice in the comments. That's what helps this community grow. Turn on notifications so you don't miss a single video. Alright, let's get started.
I 100% was not going to come on here and reveal who this character was based on, but I really can't have my current mother-in-law's name slandered because she's one of my best friends and she's probably my husband's best selling point, to be perfectly honest. I apologise for the buzzing noise in the background, someone's doing some work in the garden. I don't know if I could exactly call this person a mother-in-law because it was somebody that I dated for a very brief time because of her. I just could not bear this woman, she couldn't bear me, and so it was a call it a day. Okay, so a bit of background. The person that I was dating was not raised by his biological mum. He was raised by his aunties and his nan, who were wonderful, lovely, very welcoming. He had no contact with his mum. When I first met him, zero, zilch. Despite me, in my naive mind, saying you should probably reach out to your mum. Obviously now as an adult, I know that people cut their parents off for very good reasons. And once I met this woman, if you could even call her that, I fully understood his reasons. So at some point during the time that I was seeing this guy, he gets signed to play a certain sport and he starts to earn very decent money. And this woman who has been a literal stranger to this boy his entire adult life is suddenly all over him like a rash, like literally behaving like what you see me doing in those videos. She didn't even live in the same country as him for most of his life. She moved back to where she was from, which was in Eastern Europe. But 2 weeks after he gets signed, she rings him and she asks him if she can come and stay. And by the way, I will mention, she had never tried to ring him previous to that. Crickets, nothing. Now, naive me, I'm thinking maybe she just wants to like congratulate you, come and see you, I don't know. So he lives in a flat, which he rents all by himself, which was very impressive. He did so well for himself at a very young age. I think he was maybe 18 and he's renting a very nice apartment in a very nice place, and he has his best friend move in with him, and his best friend is paying like a very small percentage of the rent, which he didn't even want his best friend to pay, but his best friend just was like, I want to earn my keep, basically. Give him a little bit of money each month. So the week rolls around when his mum is supposed to come and visit him, but his mum is supposed to be staying with his nan, close to where she's going to fly into. The nan's house, close. She's going to stay there. There is all sorts of drama about her flight and whatnot. And eventually I just said, why don't you just pay for it? Like, it's really not that big of a deal to you. No, now I fully understand. Now I understand that it was the principle. He didn't want to pay for his mum because he knew what she was like. He knew she wasn't a nice person. Rather than go and stay at her mum's, when she arrives at the airport, she gets a cab to his house, which is an hour and a half away from this airport. Bear in mind, the nan's house is like a half-hour drive. Hour and a half hour. It made no sense. Anyway, she does that. She doesn't tell anyone that she's going to be arriving, and she just plonks herself outside. And then she calls him and says, I've got no money, can you come down and pay for my cab? They have not seen each other, I think it was like 11 years. That she had not seen him in his adult life. Left him, didn't come back. And now she is outside his apartment telling him to come down and pay for her cab. Again, he does it. He's like, fine, I knew this was going to happen, but fine, I'm going to go and pay.
There's an old saying that goes, money makes the monkey dance. This woman, the mother of this man, is an Eastern European gold digger. One of the biggest sources of conflict between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law is money, because the mother-in-law's worst fear is that her son, now with a new woman, will stop sending her that monthly check. You know women are territorial. When it comes to money, they'll destroy anything in their way. This mother-in-law is clearly no exception, but let's continue.
I can hear her shrieking from all the way upstairs. I do not mess with an imitation of her because it's ingrained in my memory. She comes up to the apartment with her suitcase. Now, she's staying for a week. Please tell me why this woman has 2 rolly suitcases, big ones, and a trunk, like a carry-on one. And I'm not somebody who travels light, but for me, even that seems excessive. And I know this is going to sound really judgy, but just bear with me here because I promise you, it all made sense later. She is head to toe in designer. Like, labels everywhere, head to toe. Like platform heels. And bear in mind, she's been on a flight, long flight, semi-long flight, but a flight still. And I love to dress up. Love it. But that was not a comfortable outfit. And also, again, I don't want to sound like I'm being mean, but it wasn't an outfit that you'd wear in front of your son or like your son's best mate. She goes straight for his friend. She ignores me as if I'm Casper the Friendly Ghost. Bear in mind, I am the person who opened the door for her. Like, that is a difficult task to achieve. To literally look past somebody who opened the door for you. And then she walks over to his friend, who she's never met before. She doesn't know him. Doesn't know his name. Bear in mind, he has told her his name several times, as well as telling her that I'm his girlfriend. I've seen the text messages of him saying, XYZ, me and Sarah, blah, blah, blah. Never acknowledges me. When she finally does acknowledge me, I kid you not, she said, I thought you'd be with somebody tall. You know, just as like your mum. I always imagined you with somebody tall. Now, for reference, I'm 5'2". His mum was very tall. And with the heels, I I would estimate her height at maybe 6'4". That is not me exaggerating. I genuinely think when she walked through the door, she was about 6'4". So if her energy wasn't intimidating enough, her height bloody well was. And we're all sorts of confused because remember, she's supposed to be staying with the nan. So he's like, why are you here? Come to find out, she's had a row with her mum. They've not spoken in the last few weeks. Nan's neglected to say that to him, so she's going to be staying with the boys. How I was raised, if someone is coming to your house and they are a guest, you give up your bed for them. And I don't even live there, so there's not really much I can say. It's almost like a Mexican standoff between him and his mum. So his best mate says, you can take my bed. So at that point, we're all thinking that it will be for a week. This woman moves in to the house, and whilst we were together, she never moved out. And in that time, I went off to uni, and by the time I came back from uni, we were no longer together and not speaking, but she was still living there. So it was like definitely a whole term of uni. I mean, it could have even been years. But in that time that I did know her and we were still together, she gaslit me into thinking that I was the most disgusting human being on the entire planet. And I think there must have been something in him, like his inner child, that was so healed by like having his mum there and her being proud of him, that he like changed. I'm going to do a part 2 on all the gaslighting, but basically everything that I have done in those videos is based loosely on everything that she did and said. Just for the record, I know that they did stop speaking again. And as soon as she realised that she wasn't going to get lots of money out of him, she just moved back.
Stop it. Get some help. I've said before that when things fall apart, your mother is the one who's there for you. But that's when your mother has supported you through every step of your journey. After she settled in with suitcases and trunks as if she were planning an extended stay, our dear mother revealed what she was truly after. Her son's income, disguised as motherly affection. In other words, the gold digger's playbook, but in the I gave you life, narcissistic edition. This woman arrived with a clear agenda to take advantage of her son's success. Her biggest rival? His girlfriend. As I said, one of the main conflicts between mothers and daughters-in-law is the man's money. When a mother-in-law realizes her son isn't giving her money anymore, she instantly dislikes the girlfriend. The same can happen in reverse. The girlfriend might resent the mother if he's giving her money. Some even go so far as to damage things around the house to ensure no money goes her way, though that's not the case here. Let's dive into part 2. The story is getting really good.
Random things that my ex-mother-in-law did and said because she fancied her own son. I think she wanted to marry him. Completely blanked me for the first 4 days of knowing me. Incredibly awkward because I was staying at my boyfriend's apartment. Some mornings we would wake up, my boyfriend would have gone to training and I would be there with just her. And I would like be in the kitchen, let's say, and she would walk out of the apartment and not say goodbye. Just slam the door. Adios. And that would be after I would say good morning to her, obviously, because I'm not a weirdo. Got to the point where when he saw it, he was like, excuse me, like, Sarah's here, can you say hello to her? And her excuse for not being able to talk to me or just not even bothering was that there was a language barrier. Now, I totally understand that I do speak very fast sometimes, and maybe it is a little bit hard to decipher what on earth I'm saying. But her son had exactly the same accent as me because he hadn't seen his mum in 11 years. And she told him that if I had any respect for him, I would go and learn their language. Her own son could not speak their language. He could understand it slightly, but he could not speak it. So when he confronts her and says, like, you've got to start speaking to my girlfriend, her response is that every time she's then around me and I try and talk to her, she tells me, wait, she gets her phone out and she does Google Translate. Imagine that. Every time that you are in a room full of people, she is only translating what you say. She went as far as to say that I had a common accent, which I have been told before, but I don't expect to be told it constantly. It's just unnecessary. She constantly fat shamed me. She compared me to a Shetland pony, which is semi-true and actually quite funny. But it did really hurt me at the time. One day, she invited me for coffee, and despite me thinking that she might just like put a load of arsenic in my coffee, I said I would go. For background, my boyfriend at the time did not know his dad, but she had told him that his dad was a certain nationality and he had always believed that. During this time in his career, he'd been given the opportunity to go and play for a certain team, represent them. You had to be a certain nationality. So he says he's got a fair chance of getting in with that side. I know nothing about sport, but there must be some sort of background checks. And so he would need to prove that he was indeed that nationality. At this coffee, she tells me she had lied about where his dad was from. I was shaking, like I vividly remember, because I felt I was devastated for him. And she tells me not to say anything. Now, I know some of you are going to think I'm wrong for this, but I sat on that information for a few days, and then after watching him going through everything that he was going through, trying to find certain things out so that he could put himself forward for this certain team, I said, listen, I need to tell you something. The other day when your mum took me for coffee, she told me she lied. I think she's a bit embarrassed. Having a massive temper, storms straight into her bedroom, starts screaming. Absolutely not what I intended to do, but that's what happened.
So, it seems like this Mother of the Year might have committed paternity fraud. At least, that's what's being implied, don't you think, brothers? What we do know for sure is that she had it out for her daughter-in-law. It's a full display of gaslighting at its finest. The sarcastic tone she uses to belittle the girlfriend and reinforce the idea that she's the only important woman in her son's life already shows just how toxic this dynamic is.
Maybe I was wrong for that, but I didn't want him to be embarrassed when she couldn't pull through with whatever. I don't know. I was very young. She says she never told me that. Never said it. Flatly denies it to my face. She calls me out into the living room and we have to have like this, I don't know, it was like a scene from EastEnders. It was truly horrific. So now I'm looking like just some weirdo who wants to start trouble. And she sees this as an opportunity and she says that I'm jealous of her. I'm jealous of their bond. Bear in mind, they haven't seen each other for 11 years, but I'm jealous. I'm jealous of their bond. She goes as far as to say that she's used to this behaviour because women have always been jealous of her. I remember thinking like, are you on drugs? I come from a family where my mum is not in competition with me. I don't see mother figures as someone that I would need to be jealous of because I see them as like love and care. It wouldn't even cross my mind. I did not know what gaslighting was back then, but I know what it is now, and I know that that's what that whole thing was. I leave and I'm like, there's no coming back from this. Like, I need to get away from this. This is weird. They somehow end up making up, and yeah, turns out she did lie and she does come clean to him, but she never apologises to me. Just still says that she didn't tell me. Doesn't even know how I know, she says. And that is where she starts to say that I am obviously like Googling him. I'm looking into him. That's how I found him. Bear in mind, when I met him, he was not signed by a club. He did not have a job. And none of that mattered. Definitely did not have a PI on him at the big age of, 18? He starts to say we've been raised differently. We have different upbringings, which I can only speculate as to what that meant because we did have different upbringings. We did. She abandoned him. Yeah, we would be different. To make amends, she decides that she will cook us all dinner. And she cooks like a traditional dish, which was lovely, by the way. But at that time, I was a vegetarian, and so I could only eat like the salady bits, which would have been fine for me. I was happy with that. But she sees it as a chance for her to go on a rampage about how starving myself won't help me, won't make a difference. And despite the fact that she has told me several times that she is naturally thin and she doesn't have to try, unlike me, she tells me she knows exactly how I can lose weight. She's going to show me yoga. Despite the fact I have never expressed I'm unhappy. And so my boyfriend, who I probably had made a few comments to, like about myself, because you just do when you're in a relationship, you feel comfortable to make comments, starts to agree with his mum in a nice way. He's like, oh yeah, that would be nice. Like, that'd be a really nice opportunity for you two to get together. And they take my sheepish, yeah, kind of nod, like tears in my eyes type thing, as full consent. And the next thing I know, she is marching me to the bathrooms where there's scales and asking me to step on the scale in front of her, my boyfriend, and his best mate who was like loitering. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't weigh myself. I don't want to be weighed in front of people. I refuse, and then I leave because it's like far too awkward for me to like rectify that situation or laugh about it at that point because I just feel so uncomfortable. So now I look like a weirdo because she's trying to help me and I'm like running off. Sad. Anyway, the last straw for me was they have a big game coming up. Everyone's going to be invited. We're all going to be there, friends, family, you name it. Everyone's going. And one of the aunties is going to have the pre-party at her house. Everyone's going to meet there. Now, I really don't want to go for obvious reasons. And so rather than go on my own, I decided I'm going to take my little sister as backup. And for reference, she is 4 years younger than me, but she has always been like the mighty one that's not scared to stand up for herself. So she comes in handy and she's ride or die. So we arrived there and straight away, when she sees my sister, she is all over her. She can understand her. She thinks she's beautiful. She compliments her figure. And I will say my sister is absolute weldy. But we do look similar. In fact, I'm going to insert a picture just to show you. I'm in the middle and my sister Lucy is here. This one. I'm going to have to do part 3, sorry.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
The classic gaslighting tactic in action, all to distract and stay in control. This woman is extremely narcissistic, which is why I tell men that there's no such thing as solidarity between women. The worst enemy of a woman is another woman. Now I understand why the son had distanced himself. I'd cut her out of my life too, even if she were my mother. She's toxic and opportunistic. I won't say the daughter-in-law is a saint, either. She also tried to take advantage of the situation to damage the mother's relationship with her son. But, as I said, the mother-in-law had a clear agenda: to be the center of her son's attention and reap the benefits of the money he's now making. Let's keep going. This is where the video really starts to get good.
Part 3 of all the things my ex-mother-in-law did because she fancies her own son and wants to marry him. So we have just arrived at his auntie's house pre-game for the party. She makes lots of jokes to his aunties that he has picked the wrong sister in front of me. My sister is 14 years old. 14 years old. And this is the same woman who has called her son a ponce with an N for dating a girl that's 6 months younger than him and told him that I'm too mature for him. Unless it's my sister, and in that case, he can go ahead and get with a 14-year-old, apparently, according to his mum. And then she starts on our outfits. Now, since we are going to a game, we have worn the colours of the team. I was waitress at the time. I never ever took money off of my boyfriend, not once. Unless we were going out together, I would never take any money from him, just wouldn't do it. Despite being offered it, never took it. Do I want a medal? Yes, I want a medal. His mum asks me why I haven't worn the specific shirt with his name on the back. I felt really on the spot. And I didn't want to just say like, yeah, I couldn't actually afford that. So I just said, oh, I don't know. I don't know how that was better. But in my head, to say I don't know was better. And then she copies it. She goes, oh, I don't know. When I had been into the shop to buy that specific jersey, the only one that they had that I could afford was the children's size, at the age 11 to 12. So I bought it, but it didn't fit me. But it fit my sister. And so I gave it to her. And then I went on eBay, and with the money that I had left, I bought a scarf. And it was like a second-hand one, and I can't even remember what it cost me, but I know it was dirt cheap. And she berates me the whole time we are there about the fact that I haven't bothered and my sister has. And she refuses to allow me to leave until I am wearing a shirt. And so eventually, one of his aunties goes upstairs at her request and she brings down a box of children's shirts that once belonged to him. And she's like, he will love it. Turn up in one of these shirts. So I take the box upstairs and I go through the shirts with my sister. She helps me. And I am literally crying because I know none of these shirts are going to fit me because I'm a grown up. And I know what you're thinking, like, it's not that deep. Why don't you just go downstairs and say, oh, they didn't actually fit me. I was too chicken shit. So I put on a shirt. It was like the biggest one that was there. It was like a jersey. It wasn't like a proper sport top, let's say. It was like a jersey one.
I have to say, this mother-in-law is very meticulous with everything she does. She's one of those toxic women who never misses a chance to spread some venom. The daughter-in-law, who clearly lacks self-esteem, can't even bring herself to call out this viper of a mother-in-law. One thing about narcissistic women like this mother-in-law is that they have plenty of attitude. They know exactly when to play the victim and when to mess with you. She saw an opportunity to make her look terrible with an old, sweaty shirt. She was trying to destroy the daughter-in-law's self-esteem. But let's see how it all ends. My MIL is so bad we have a restraining order against her. When my son grows, if he marries, I will be the best MIL, 'cause I am so sad mine's terrible and I missed out on so much. I used to think my ex's mother-in-law was the only woman like this. The more I listen to stories like this, the more I feel I know now I was never the problem. My BF's mom told me I'm too old and fat for him, and he should wait to see if I get rich. I'm a lawyer training as a barrister. So it makes up for my many faults. I was fidgeting with my wedding ring, and my MIL sitting next to me said to me, if you don't want it, I'll take it. My MIL, also a mother of a footballer, purposely gave me severe food poisoning. She insisted on doing my plate for me, and I was the only one who got ill after a family barbecue. Needed antibiotics. My ex's mom called me lazy for not have a pristine house 2 days after I had a C-section. I was also useless for not being able to cook a 3-course meal 3 days postpartum.
So it looked like a baby tea, which, bless my heart, it didn't look good. I get to the game, I feel so embarrassed, like I am constantly pulling this scarf around me like a shawl, this secondhand scarf, which didn't smell great, but because I had to buy it secondhand and it was like a rush delivery job, I didn't have time to wash it and dry it, so it smelled weird. It smelled of like smoke, which she also comments on. The entire game, I feel so uncomfortable. She is introducing herself to like the other girlfriends as if she is his girlfriend. And I swear to God, I just know from her body language that she was discussing me all night with these other women, and I looked the part of what she was discussing. I looked like a weirdo. I know for a fact I looked that way in that little tiny baby tea and that smelly scarf. It smelled so bad. And my little sister at this point has had enough. She is like, let me say something to that woman now. Despite the fact that this woman wants to be her best friend, she's like, nah, I'm not having it. She's not speaking to you like that. And she's like gassing me up in the toilet. She's like, I won't have it. You're worth more. And my self-esteem is on the floor, standing in this little... I just looked aside. Anyway, she's like, not having it. She's like, no. Going out there, I'm going to tell her how I feel. These events are free bars. So all you got to do is just go up, get yourself a drink. It's all included. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. And no one's IDing her. So she's just going up and getting herself a drink. So I'm not realising that she's a little bit merry. And I'm drinking out of nerves. And I think you know where this is going. We both storm out there. Well, she storms and I like go out behind her in my stinky scarf. She taps her on the shoulder. Well, it wasn't really her shoulder because this woman was quite literally like 6 foot. On the waistband, and she's like, listen, you're not going to speak to my sister like that. She acts stunned, shocked, surprised. Like, she's like, what do you mean? I don't even talk to your sister, which was true. She never really spoke to me. Everything that happened is a blur after that, but I do know that me and Lucy did, in fact, live up to the chavette reputation that had preceded us. A drink was spilt, thrown, and Georgie, whose real name I will protect, he took his mum's side. Yeah. So FYI, ladies, if you want to play dirty, do it all undercover. Yeah. If you have a truly spectacular mother-in-law that's as evil as that one, and you don't know how to do things in a covert way, you're gonna come off worse. You'll always come off worse.
After reading all these comments, I can see that many women also have mothers-in-law who are a complete nightmare. I thought it was just us men who went through this, but women can be terrible to each other as well. This just makes it even clearer to me that a woman's worst enemy is often another woman. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, the questions are for you. What do you think about this man's mother? Who do you think was in the right, the mother-in-law or the daughter-in-law? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.